Welcome to Chapter 3 of the Bhagavad Gita, Karma Yoga, the path of selfless action. This chapter comprises 43 verses, where Lord Krishna emphasizes the significance of performing one's duties selflessly, without attachment to the results. Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 3, Karma Yoga, the path of selfless action. Arjuna said, "O Janardana, if you consider knowledge superior to action, then why do you urge me to engage in this terrible action? You seem to confuse my mind with conflicting words. Therefore, please tell me decisively what is most beneficial for me." The Blessed Lord said, "O sinless one, I have already explained that there are two paths to self-realization. The path of knowledge for the contemplative, and the path of action for the active. One does not attain freedom from action by merely abstaining from work, nor does one achieve perfection by renunciation alone. Indeed, no one can remain without action even for a moment. Everyone is compelled to act by the qualities born of nature. One who restrains the senses and organs of action, but dwells on sense objects in the mind, is a hypocrite, deluding himself. But one who controls the senses with the mind and engages the organs of action in Karma Yoga without attachment is superior. Perform your prescribed duty, for action is better than inaction. Even the maintenance of the body would not be possible without action. Work done as a sacrifice for the Supreme must be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction, and in that way you will always remain free from bondage. In the beginning, the Creator created mankind along with sacrifices and said, 'By this shall you prosper. Let this be the giver of all your desires.' The demigods, being pleased by sacrifices, will also please you. Thus, by cooperation between humans and demigods, prosperity will reign for all. Being nourished by sacrifices, the demigods will supply all your necessities. But he who enjoys these gifts without offering them to the demigods is certainly a thief. The spiritually minded who eat food offered first in sacrifice are freed from all kinds of sins. But those who prepare food for personal enjoyment verily eat only sin. All living bodies subsist on food grains, which are produced from rain. Rains are produced by performance of sacrifice, and sacrifice is born of prescribed duties. Regulated activities are prescribed in the Vedas, and the Vedas are directly manifested from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, the all-pervading transcendence is eternally situated in acts of sacrifice. My dear Arjuna, one who does not follow in human life the cycle of sacrifice thus established by the Vedas certainly leads a life full of sin. Living only for the satisfaction of the senses, such a person lives in vain. But for one who takes pleasure in the self, whose human life is one of self-realization, and who is satisfied in the self only, fully satiated, for him there is no duty. A self-realized man has no purpose to fulfill in the discharge of his prescribed duties, nor has he any reason not to perform such work. Nor has he any need to depend on any other living being. Therefore, without being attached to the fruits of activities, one should act as a matter of duty. For by working without attachment, one attains the Supreme. Kings such as Janaka attained perfection solely by performance of prescribed duties. Therefore, just for the sake of educating the people in general, you should perform your work. Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. and whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. O son of Pritha, there is no work prescribed for me within all the 3 planetary systems, nor am I in want of anything, nor have I a need to obtain anything, and yet I am engaged in prescribed duties. For if I ever failed to engage in carefully performing prescribed duties, O Partha, certainly all men would follow my path. If I did not perform prescribed duties, all these worlds would be put to ruination. I would be the cause of creating unwanted population, and I would thereby destroy the peace of all living beings. As the ignorant perform their duties with attachment to results, the learned may similarly act, but without attachment, for the sake of leading people on the right path. Let not the wise disrupt the minds of the ignorant who are attached to fruitive work. They should not be encouraged to refrain from work, but to engage in work in the spirit of devotion. All activities are carried out by the 3 modes of material nature. But in ignorance, the soul, deluded by false identification with the body, thinks of itself as the doer. But one who is in knowledge of the absolute truth, O mighty armed, does not engage himself in the senses and sense gratification, knowing well the differences between work in devotion and work for fruitive results. Bewildered by the modes of material nature, the ignorant fully engage themselves in material activities and become attached. But the wise should not unsettle them, although these duties are inferior due to the performer's lack of knowledge. Therefore, O Arjuna, surrendering all your works unto me, with full knowledge of me, without desires for profit, with no claims to proprietorship, and free from lethargy, fight. Those persons who execute their duties according to my injunctions, and who follow this teaching faithfully, without envy, become free from the bondage of fruitive actions. But those who, out of envy, disregard these teachings and do not follow them regularly, are to be considered bereft of all knowledge, befooled, and doomed to ignorance and bondage. Even a man of knowledge acts according to his own nature, for everyone follows the nature he has acquired from the 3 modes. What can repression accomplish? There are principles to regulate attachment and aversion pertaining to the senses and their objects. One should not come under the control of such attachment and aversion, because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. It is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though faultily, than another's duties perfectly. Destruction in the course of performing one's own duty is better than engaging in another's duties, for to follow another's path is dangerous. Arjuna said, O descendant of Vrishni, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force? The blessed Lord said, It is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion, and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world. As fire is covered by smoke, as a mirror is covered by dust, or as the embryo is covered by the womb, similarly, the living entity is covered by different degrees of this lust. Thus, the pure consciousness of the wise living entity is covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like fire. The senses, the mind, and the intelligence are the sitting places of this lust. Through them, lust covers the real knowledge of the living entity and bewilders him. Therefore, O Arjuna, best of the Bharatas, in the very beginning, curb this great symbol of sin, lust, by regulating the senses, and slay this destroyer of knowledge and self-realization. The working senses are superior to dull matter. Mind is higher than the senses. intelligence is still higher than the mind, and the soul is even higher than the intelligence. Thus, knowing oneself to be transcendental to material senses, mind and intelligence, O mighty armed Arjuna, one should steady the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence, and thus, by spiritual strength, conquer this insatiable enemy known as lust. Thank you for listening to Chapter 3 of the Bhagavad Gita. Karma Yoga, the path of selfless action. May these timeless teachings inspire you to live with purpose, awareness, and devotion. If you found value in this audio, please like the video, share it with others, and subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned for next chapter, Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. Let the wisdom of the Gita guide your journey. Hare Krishna, Jai Shri Krishna.